Hey guys, so I'm Danny Batiste, this is Beauty Manifested, and I want to talk a little bit about how I manifested more than enough in my garden. Now, contrary to the topic, this is actually not going to be a super woo-woo video. This, however, is a channel for storytelling. It'll make sense if you subscribe, and that way you can follow along with the story. If you're just hopping on for this one video, I'm so happy and grateful to have you here. However, please don't leave any mean comments, because if you don't understand where I'm coming from, because you only saw one video, it doesn't really make sense to do that. However, let's just get started. Okay, so this is actually crazy because this year I finally feel like I have more than enough in my garden. I have more than enough space. I have more than enough produce. There's just abundance. And it's only April, literally April 4th, so the beginning of April, and usually harvest doesn't really pick up until like May or even early June. And so I feel like May and October are like my best months in the garden. Anyways, it's all very exciting and I have everything. So the first thing I would say is consistency over time. Of course, I used to learn from a woman, and one of her like sayings was depth plus time equals manifestation, I think. Right. So this, technically, I think this is my 8th year having a garden here, but I used to only have literally just one single bed, right? So of course I wasn't in the energy of having more than enough. I just had one single bed. I didn't really know like anything about gardening in Texas. I didn't know what I could grow when. There was such a learning curve, okay, right? But ever since then, I always grew like a little something. For the first few years, it was really just like herbs and greens. And then the pandemic came, 2020, now 4 years ago. And so this is my 4th year of having like an epic garden. Ever since 2020, I have just been like expanding. Every single year has been like, it's required me to do a lot of infrastructure. I've put in new beds, like so much has happened. So much has happened. I wish I had started the YouTube back in 2020 just so you could see like how much work. Like if you subscribe, as you should, I posted a video doing a project in what I call the pool bed, and the pool bed is super long. I think it's at least 40 feet, maybe like 40 by 2.5 feet. It's a huge space. And I started off with a bed full of yucca. It was like full of these deep rooted, sharp cacti plants. It was so dangerous. I remember the summer or spring when I was digging them up, and I would literally have scratches all over my arms and legs, even through my jeans and shirt. Like, it was just crazy. And then the roots were so deep, and I would be like pulling on the roots to try to pull them out with both hands. It was absolutely insane. So there was a lot of infrastructure. There was a lot of money that went into the garden, paying for the infrastructure. The projects are not cheap. It was so much going on. And also throughout these years, as I buy plants and everything, I keep a lot of things. So for example, this year I built this trellis, right? But it didn't cost me any money because I already had zip ties from a past project. I already had PVC from a past project. I already had T-post from a past project, and I double manifested that because not only do I have it to work on this new project, but also at the time I was dating a man who built me a shade pavilion, and so he actually bought those for me. And so I manifested love, I manifested romance, and I manifested infrastructure for my garden. And so that was actually completely free to me. And then the fencing I've probably had for like 8 years. And it's like this big, ugly roll of fencing. And I don't even know what my original purpose of it was. Oh, I think I was going to use it as a trellis. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I was going to use it for. So I bought that like 8 years ago. I had this huge ugly roll. I thought about getting rid of it multiple times just because it was ruining the aesthetic of my garden. And I didn't. Excuse me. Yeah, so it was ruining the aesthetic of my garden. I didn't get rid of it. Finally, at last, I used the last of the roll, which was so awesome, so amazing, and that really just signified like an energy of completion for me. What else? Like these containers, you see those, like the blue containers? I bought those back in 2020 because I was kind of like learning about container gardening back then. I just have so much stuff, and now this year I literally have multiple empty pots because I don't even have anything to put in it. And I could, but it's like I already have so many tomatoes, so many peppers, so many beans, so many blackberries. Like I have literally everything I need, that I have empty pots. Like I have more than enough, which is crazy because I used to think I needed to expand to like a few acres, which I still would do. Don't get me wrong, I still would do that. There's always new levels. It's not like I'm just capped here. But what I will say is like I'm just feeling so good about my garden this year. I barely had to put anything in. I think the only expenses were seeds, but barely, because I already had so many seeds. The only reason I bought seeds is because I wanted to try new different varieties, and it's like some things I had never grown before. I already had trellises, I already had supports, I already had seed starting supplies, I already had the lights, like I had everything. Literally everything. I have so many gardening gloves, I have so many gardening tools. I already have my compost bin going. I have sub pods so I can do my vermicomposting. I didn't have to spend money on worm castings because I've already been making my own worm castings. Hopefully eventually I'll get to the point that I don't have to spend money on compost, but I'm not gonna say it's a ways away, because honestly, if you could see how much work I've done in this garden just in the past 4 years, you'd be amazed. So eventually I'll be able to make enough compost to sustain the garden, and I won't have to have any inputs. What else? I'm just so amazed, and I know what I like to grow. It just gets better and better and better, and this is just really highlights like consistent action over time leads to abundance and overflow. My garden is so abundant. I have more than enough. I'm giving things away to people, which just lights my heart up. I'm so happy. A lot of these terracotta pots I have are from a party that I had last year. And all my friends are asking if I'm going to do another garden party this year. And honestly, I don't know, because I have a lot going on. I'm not going to, actually. I just know that I'm not going to. But I might have a slumber party, like a Juneteenth slumber party. And it's just amazing. I have berries, I have fruit trees. My pomegranate is literally loaded with flowers. I'm gonna have so many pomegranates to eat. I might have pears, I might have persimmons. It's just, wow, like all the work was really, really worth it. And it's like this year, I've had to do the least. The only work I do is watering and fertilizing, which is enjoyable for me because it lets me come out and just like stare at my plants, which is pretty much my favorite hobby ever. I just like staring at the plants all day. Yeah, I did the least this year, and I'm getting the most because I did so much on the front end. I built such a wonderful foundation. My infrastructure is amazing. Well, I wouldn't say amazing. So this is kind of a funny story. I've been filming myself doing my tomato trellis in like the new style that I'm doing for my tomato trellis because I've never done it before. It's pretty epic. I'm like super proud of it, actually. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Anyways, oh, and I accidentally ripped my tomato out the ground, so I'm like, irritated. Anyways, what am I excited about? The tomato trellis. Okay, so I have filmed parts of me doing it for 3 days, but of course I didn't get the injury. So I literally hit my head so hard on a T-post, it almost took out my eye. I have a huge, like, it's scabbed, of course, because it cut the skin, but also like my face is really bruised and tender for the past couple days because it's just been like me and zip ties against the world, and then the zip ties were breaking, and so I had to actually do it the right way and get some screws, and it's just been pretty chaotic. So that's the only thing with DIY stuff. But I have another DIY trellis that I did with PVC and fencing and zip ties, and that one's been lasting me for like 3 years now. So I think that finally this one is going to be good, but it did take me 3 tries, and now I feel pretty good about it. And I have cute little garden decorations. I have so many flowers, like way more than enough flowers. It's just been amazing. It's just been amazing. The only thing I'm going to do different next year is, one, I'm going to have more pansies. This gecko is so cute. I'm going to have more pansies. I'm going to start probably 8 trays of pansies for the winter, because they just add like that early color before anything else is going. And then like my petunias and my geraniums, I'm going to start those probably December 1st. I didn't start them until like February 1st this year. And so now there are some blank spots in my garden while I'm waiting for them to put on flowers. The petunias are finally putting on flowers. I'm still waiting on the geraniums. But I mean, I don't know, because if the petunias are just now putting on flowers, where I want them to be in full bloom right now, right? So I wish they were like a month ahead. So that would tell me I should start January 1st. However, I feel like it's not going to hurt to start it December 1st. So we shall see. I do feel really, really good about it. Like, I'm just beyond excited. I have been seeing that, like, I feel like some people's garden is ahead of mine on Instagram. There's been a little bit of comparison going on, but what can you do? I'm so proud of my garden. They've probably been in the game longer than I have. It's just amazing. And I'm figuring out so many things. I can't wait to update you guys with some harvest videos, although I am already harvesting. But I just feel like summer garden harvests are more exciting, because I'll have like tomatoes and eggplants. Right now it's mostly just like greens and lettuce and stuff like that. But anyways, I love you guys. Follow along to see my garden dreams coming to life. And I will be doing a garden tour soon, but probably not till May, because like I said, I'm still waiting on a lot of my stuff to put out blooms. And yeah, there it is. If you want to follow like a very realistic, down to earth, holistic garden channel, I would definitely say hit subscribe. This is a garden channel, but also a storytelling channel. And I'm like a very laid back gardener. I do my best. I try to grow fruit. I try to make things beautiful. I was actually thinking about this today, because I felt so proud yesterday. So I grew a bunch of flowers from seed, like a bunch. And then I just had like random amounts of flowers, because not everything germinates and not everything makes it. And so I've hearted them off, and now I'm transplanting them into the garden. I have another thing to say after. And now I'm transplanting them into the garden. And so I had some cosmos I was transplanting. I think I had 7. And then I just kind of like randomly did it. Like, I didn't measure. I didn't have a plan. I just like, put them in the ground. And then yesterday I was watering, and literally the symmetry is so perfect. And for me, that was like a testimony of my faith in Jesus Christ and in God, because it's like, it always works out, and it's not really my responsibility to overthink things and overplan and try to force and manipulate nature. I just like literally follow my gut. I almost feel possessed. The way that I can work in the garden for like 12 hours straight some days, and then I might have to sit down because I'm like, my body is like so exhausted, and then I'll sit down for like 5 minutes and then just start working again. And it's because this is like my passion and my life force, and I feel like I get possessed by the Holy Spirit to the point that I'm just moving. I'm in the flow state. I'm not thinking about it at all. So I just like do stuff. And then when I look back, I'm like, that was literally perfect. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect. I don't even know how I know to do that. Like, I didn't, like, nobody taught me this. I'm just kind of out here vibing, and somehow it always works out better than expected. And so that's one of the lessons that I've learned from my garden, and that I try to also apply in my actual life. Like, just move. Just move, 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 move. Enter that flow state and trust that the Holy Spirit is moving you and everything is falling into place even better than you could have ever planned it. Like, it doesn't even make sense to get stuck in the planning phase. You hardly even need a planning phase. The planning phase should just be like you sitting down, being like, maybe I should do this, and then start moving into that, and then you might get distracted and you're like, okay, well, let me start moving in this, and I'll start moving in this, and then if the Holy Spirit calls you, you'll move back into this, or you'll move back into that, and somehow everything gets done. Somehow you're always in the right place at the right time. Somehow the perfect people always show up. Somehow it just works out. And in the midst of all of this moving, you're being very, very kind to yourself. You're not calling yourself mean things like lazy or procrastinator or like, what's the other one? Flaky or, like all over the place. Like all of those words have all been used to describe me. And so I'm like, just because people don't understand my process doesn't have anything to do with anything. Just because my life isn't exactly where I want it to be right now doesn't mean that my process isn't working. I know that sounds crazy because it's like, well, are you getting the results that you want? Yes and no. Is my life everything I've ever wanted? Like when I compare myself to the ideal version of myself, am I that? No, not necessarily. Especially right now, I'm in a career transition. There's a lot going on. However, I'm not switching up because I really trust my process and I see all the beautiful things that I have created thus far. And so, yeah, I'm transitioning, so everything's not in place yet. But following this process has manifested a lot of other things for me before. And so I'm going to continue with this process. I'm going to continue having faith. I'm going to continue taking naps. I'm going to just do whatever I feel called to do and have fun and speak highly of myself and advocate for myself and be kind and dance and go out with my friends and just live my best life, okay? I'm not going to let people on the internet convince me that I have to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, even though I do wake at 6 a.m. But anyways, I'm not going to let the internet convince me that I have to do things a certain kind of way, because I don't care what they have to say. I care what God has to say. And God doesn't even speak to me. He literally moves me because I pretty much exist in a state of surrender. And my garden is the testimony right now. Like, I don't even know how this happened. And it is just miraculous. Like, I can't believe I have empty pots. If you're a gardener, then I feel like you'll understand how crazy that is, like, to have empty pots. Because usually I start way too many seeds. Usually, like, there's always something more that I want, like another fruit tree, another something. I don't want anything right now. And that also is a testimony to my financial discipline. And not even financial discipline. What's discipline? My financial freedom, the energy of abundance and financial freedom that I have been practicing and calling in, because it's like, I don't want more than what I have because I am content. That is financial freedom and abundance. It's the energy of being content. It's like I have all of my needs are met. And all of my wants are met. I really don't want anything else. Because every time you get something new, remember this, because I did just get a new rose today. Every time you get something new, what is it? When you're taking on new opportunities, just know you're also taking on new responsibilities. And I don't shy away from responsibility. I love caring for my garden. I love taking more classes. I love responsibility. I love when my family can rely on me. Don't shy away from responsibility. But at the same time, like when it comes to material things, don't be so quick to scale and expand and take on more things, because you just need to weigh, like do a cost benefit analysis and see like, okay, I'll buy this new thing, but how much value is it going to add to my life versus how much work is it going to be a good steward of this thing? Like if you want to buy a Mercedes, it's like, okay, first it's going to cost this much money. And so even if let's just say you have like unlimited money, like money doesn't even matter to you. Well, if money doesn't even matter to you, then I feel like this doesn't apply. So, but anyways, let's just pretend you get a Mercedes-Benz. The thing about the Mercedes-Benz is, one, you should have got a Lexus, because Mercedes are known to have more problems than Lexus. So there's that. Okay. And now because it's a Mercedes, you're gonna have to take it to the shop and the bill is going to be expensive. So that's why I said if you have enough money, it doesn't really matter. You can just always get it fixed, and you can probably pay for somebody to come to you and fix it for you. Money definitely does buy convenience, which is like really the best thing money can buy in my opinion, because time is the only thing you can't get back. Anyways, there's going to be like some labor that goes into a Mercedes, and also sometimes like there's like an inflation that comes with it. Like if you drive a Mercedes, you also have to have a house that matches that. You always have to dress in a way that, like, you know, you have to take on the whole identity of a Mercedes girl, and there's just a lot that goes into that. And so before you get the car, you should really think of all those things and be like, is it worth it to me? And if it is, then do it. Get the Mercedes. We love that. But if it's not, it's like, don't. And so for me right now, like, yeah, I could probably get some new fruit trees. I could do a lot of things. I actually do need to get a new plant, but I just don't know what I want. It's crazy. It's crazy how practicing like restraint and gratitude and like doing just enough has actually put me in the energy of more than enough. Because I used to do like too much. I would buy too many seeds, too many containers, too many plants, too many everything, and then I would feel like I didn't have enough space, and I just would feel like an energy of lack because I had overindulged, you know. And now this year I actually like planned properly, and I was like, okay, and it comes from being wiser. Like I know that I don't need more than 8 tomato plants. Like 8 tomato plants is already enough. I actually have 11. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I have 11 tomato plants, and they have a lot of space. And I think I have 12 pepper plants. Yeah, so which is good. But I think last year I had probably like 30 pepper plants because I had bought so many seeds and I wanted to be able to grow one of each variety. But then I felt lack because I didn't have enough space for 30 pepper plants. And then none of the pepper plants even thrived. Well, a couple of them did because they had more space. But they didn't thrive the way I wanted them to thrive because they were crowded. Resources were scarce because they were crowded. And it was just like stressful for me trying to fit so much. So now I'm going to try these ones that I have. And I did mostly the ones that I really, really like. And I know that I really, really like. I gave them enough space. I'm fertilizing them on a consistent schedule, and I already feel more abundant, and I know they're going to produce more abundantly because I'm providing the frequency of abundance, versus last year it was the frequency of lack, even though I felt lack because I had too much going on. And this year I feel abundance because I practice discernment with what I would take on as a responsibility. And so I think that is a good place to wrap it up. Practicing discernment will put you into the energy of abundance. Just letting everything in and not having any filter will put you in a state of lack. I love you guys. Stay beautiful. Please follow along for more garden content. This is going to be the best garden ever. Peace.